Hi, my name is Rosalie Desmond and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator from Australia. Today I'm bringing you the latest in the Christmas Challenge Stampathon 2018. This challenge goes live on the 25th of June and goes all the way through to the 24th of July. This month's theme is texture. So what we mean by texture is that you can incorporate any kind of texture with your Christmas crafting. So the ones that I've made this month, I've made some cards using the Bubbling Over stamp set with my sentiment from Itty Bitty Greetings and using the framelits from Bottles and Bubbles. The texture I've chosen to use is the shimmery white embossing paste. I've also used an embossing folder to give a bit of texture to one of my bottles. I've also used some white embossing powder and heat embossed this label. Used a little bit of foil just to give it a little bit of something different, and some foil around the sentiment and just a little bit of metallic thread. My card this time has a lot of elements to it, so I'll get moving and get on with making the card. So the first thing I'm using is the Merry Merlot cardstock, and all I've done is I have cut an A4 sheet of paper in half at 10.5 centimeters. So it's 10.5 centimeters by 29.8 centimeters. And all I'm going to do is simply fold it in half just to make a standard Australian card base. Then I have a piece of Whisper White cardstock at 9 centimeters by 13.5 centimeters. A Granny Apple Green piece of cardstock, which is 8.5 centimeters by 13 centimeters. I'm using some scrapped white paper to stamp out my bottles. So using the Bubbling Over stamp set, I'm going to stamp out 2 bottles. While I've got my inks out, I will also add this little For You stamp as well. So one of my bottles I'm going to stamp out in Mango Melody. I'll give that a little bit of a clean with my Stampin' Scrub. And then just rub it on the drying side. I'll stamp it again using the Merry Merlot. I'm going to get my little bubble stamp. And I've got no problems with going off the edge here because I'm going to be cutting them out. I've got one more bit to do with the Merry Merlot before I stop. I'm going to be using the sentiment 'Tis the Season from the Itty Bitty Greetings set. I really love this set because it's got so many different occasions that it covers, and I don't need to own all the stamp sets. simply did my sentiment. I'll go and clean those now. And then I'm going to grab the little tab from the bottles, the label from the bottles. And my For You stamp. Stamping this up in Granny Apple Green. I'm allowing enough space so I'm able to cut these out. Grab some Versamark and some white embossing powder. And I'm going to emboss my label. So I ink up in Versamark, pop my stamp where I want it, quickly grab my embossing powder, now grab my heat tool. I like to pre-warm my heat tool before I use it. I find that it warps the card less. And that changed very quickly. Now I'm just going to go away and I'm going to cut out all of these pieces using my Bottles and Bubbles framelits. We have bottles, caps. I'll grab some silver foil and I'll cut out some caps for the top of my bottles. There's sort of straws and all sorts of things, but there's also these little labels which I'm going to use for my sentiment. So I'll just go now and I'll cut all that out and I'll be back when I'm done. Right, I've just popped these all through the Big Shot, cut out some silver foil bottle caps, stuck them down, put a dimensional under the For You, put dimensionals between the layers here, and added some silver thread. So this bottle was just out of some Whisper White, and I popped it through the Big Shot and embossed the bottle just to give a bit more texture. Now I'm going to be using some shimmery white embossing paste to create a background. First of all, I made a mask. I made a mask out of some clear plastic using one of the dies, the bubbles, from the Bottles and Bubbles. So as you can see, all I've done is I've just popped it through the Big Shot, popped it in random places and cut out a whole bunch of holes, so I'm able to use that as a mask. Now this is a pretty easy technique. All I do is I use a mask of any description, whether you create your own or you use the ones that are sold by Stampin' Up. I just grab some of this with a palette knife. Holding it tight, I just scrape it on and scrape it off because I only want a thin layer. I'm using a craft mat underneath, so I've got very easy clean up. I'm thinking I might need a little bit more down the bottom. I'm just going to move this up a little bit. And I'll just pop the mask wherever it is I want it. And add just a little bit more paste. Now if I thought smart, I would have done the embossing paste first, and then it would have been able to dry while I was doing all the other elements of my card. So I'll just wait for that to dry. It'll only take a few minutes. I do like to just clean up while it's still wet, just along these edges. It just gives us a bit of shimmery texture. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, this is now dry. So I'm going to grab some Tombow liquid glue and glue down my layers. Okay, now I'm grabbing my embossed bottle, adding some liquid glue and just popping it down wherever I'm happy. Now I'll grab some dimensionals. And the last part is my sentiment. And I'm done. So there's my card, all completed. I hope you decide to join us for this month's Christmas Challenge Stampathon 2018, and you can add a touch of texture to your Christmas crafting projects as well. Thank you very much. If you enjoy my video, please subscribe down below, and if you'd like to receive the notifications, don't forget to press the bell. Thanks very much and have a good day.